All right, what I want to do now is talk for a little bit about some of the mammals that you might encounter in Alabama and some of the areas that we're going to visit. Truthfully, there aren't a lot of mammals that you would expect to see in our sort of daily outings. Mammals as a group are largely nocturnal, so what we will be doing in a lot of places that we visit is looking not necessarily for the animals themselves, but for sign like tracks, evidence that they've been there. We will and certainly hope that we see some of them up close and personal. But let me just run through some, and actually I'm just going to skip over this pretty quickly. Mammals are a very biologically diverse group of animals, more so than any group except for the insects in all likelihood. Hang on, I've got to pause here for a second. Okay, let's try it again. If you think about most habitats, particularly terrestrial habitats, and you think about the dominant species there, the most conspicuous species of animals, typically it's going to be a mammalian species. Mammals, while there aren't as many species as there are in some of the other vertebrate groups, they tend to be the most conspicuous, most dominant members of their communities. We'll go through the classification here, but actually what I'm going to do is just introduce you to some of the orders and some of the more common representatives of those, particularly the ones that we're likely to see or see signs of their activity. I won't go through the biology. If you want to look at this on your own, you can. I will mention briefly that we have a long history in Alabama of interesting mammals. In fact, the state fossil of Alabama is a mammal. Oddly enough, it's a marine mammal. The Eocene of the Eocene epoch of the Cenozoic period. Cenozoic era. The lower part of the state was covered by ocean, and we have found a number of fossils of basilosaurs, which was a fossil whale, and this is in fact Alabama's state fossil representation of the Basilosaurus. Also, during the Pleistocene, Alabama was home to a large megafaunal population of mammals. Many of the sorts of animals that you now would see on the plains of Africa were actually present across the southeast. Things like mastodons and saber-tooths, and some animals that are now restricted to other areas like jaguars were found in Alabama during the Pleistocene. Let me just run through some of the more common orders and things that we're likely to see. We do have one marsupial. It is the Virginia opossum, which is widespread across the state. Marsupials, as I'm sure most of you know, have a very different reproductive development than placental mammals. In marsupials, the babies are born after a gestation period of only about 12 days, and you can put the entire litter in a tablespoon when they're born. They crawl across the mother's abdomen into a pouch, and they attach to a nipple there, where they remain for quite some time. And then even after they reach a point at which they are to a degree independent, they still are highly dependent on the mother. We have opossums are I wouldn't say an invasive species. They entered North America during what we call the Great American Interchange, when the Panama land bridge was formed some 3 million years ago. But they are one of the relatively small number of South American mammals that has done quite well in North America. They're found pretty much across the U.S. now, where they have adapted extremely well to human habitation, and you'll find these digging through dumpsters in cities. In fact, I saw one in downtown Livingston just the other day. Sorry, I'm actually trying. Sorry, I'm actually trying. I have a new phone, and I'm trying to make sure it's set up. Yeah, normally when I do these integrity lectures, I try to make sure that they are reusable. In other words, I wouldn't make any references that would not apply to this if I, for example, use this again in a couple of years. But if we teach this class again, I'll be here. So this is probably the only time I'll ever use these particular integrity lectures. So I'll just tell you it's Tuesday morning, and I'm hiding in my office trying to get ahead of these lectures. Anyway, we were talking about baby opossums, and by the way, I'm still checking my account settings, hoping this works. I've been fighting it all morning. Baby opossums are tiny. They, should we encounter one, they'll likely give you this threatening looking appearance. They hiss, their hair stands on end. They've got an impressive set of rather sharp teeth, but if you threaten them, they'll roll over and play dead. That's where the phrase "playing possum" comes from. They actually basically they pass out. They and then if you leave them alone for a while, they will respond. It's an involuntary response. It's like fainting. Opossums, oddly enough, are very resistant to snake venom. Who knows why? Probably some sort of co-evolved response. They actually were once widely hunted and consumed. I can promise I have never eaten opossum. Dr. Keener, have you eaten opossum? Didn't think so. Anyway, the tracks, the front paw looks sort of like people will say it looks like the hand of a baby. I hope it doesn't look like the hand of any of your babies. The odd thing about the hind foot is this sort of perpendicular digit that sticks out to the side. The tracks are quite distinctive. We'll undoubtedly see tracks. The tail is somewhat prehensile. It's enough to hold up the young ones, but and it just failed on me, so I'll have to continue to try that later. So we probably will not see any shrews or moles. The shrews and moles are in the order Soricomorpha. I doubt that we encounter them. We might see evidence, particularly the moles. Moles are burrowers. Shrews are surface predators, highly nocturnal. Moles are nocturnal as well. They feed beneath the surface, but of course they leave their tunneling activity as evidence. We will undoubtedly see bats. The problem with bats is unless you can inspect them up close and personal, you're probably not going to know what they are. We will probably simply refer to them as bats. I will show you a few of the Alabama bats. This is the southeastern myotis, which is one of the larger ones with a wingspan of perhaps a foot. If you look at one up close and personal, there are some rather small morphological traits you have to look for, like the calcar here, which is one of the features that is used to identify the southeastern myotis. The calcar is keeled. They also have long hairs between the toes, like some of my freshmen. We don't know a whole lot about their ecology. Of course, if we encounter bats, they're going to typically be in the neighborhood of caves, either caves or some other structure that they can go into during the daytime or in the wintertime. The evening bat, rather small bat with some 10-inch wingspan. This is the eastern pipistrelle. The hoary bat is the largest bat in its range. You will see it sometimes in the late evening when it comes out to feed on moths. This is an out of order slide. This is the evening bat again. the evening bat actually roosts in buildings and in tree hollows, unlike caves, which most of the bats roost in. They feed on beetles and true bugs, and they eat a lot of stink bugs. Southeastern myotis, pretty widely distributed but very poorly known. It feeds on a wide range of insects. It is primarily a cave dweller, but it will occasionally roost in buildings and in tree cavities and under bridges. And once again, the southeastern myotis. We will almost certainly see a member of the order Cingulata, and that's this fella, the nine-banded armadillo. You won't confuse it with any other North American mammal. It has an armored carapace made up of a double layer of horn and bone. The head and legs are covered with covered with thin scales. They usually are sort of a grayish brown. They have some vocalizations that you will hear if you startle one. They'll give a pig-like squeal. A lot of very interesting aspects to their biology. They are the only mammal other than humans that are known to harbor the disease that causes Hansen's disease, better known as leprosy. I'm told that if you eat them, they taste like pork. I'm not going to try that. They also have an unusual ability to jump extremely high. And if you startle one, they'll jump straight up in the air about 3 feet. The lagomorphs, that's the hares and the rabbits. We have, within the state boundaries, probably 3 or 4 species. The one you're most likely to see is the eastern cottontail, distinguished by the little fluffy cotton tail. We might also encounter the swamp rabbit, which is is in the same genus, Silvolagus, but different species. It's as the name suggests, it is better adapted to swampy conditions. Silvolagus aquaticus. Can distinguish it from the cottontail. It's a little bit larger, but it also has rust-colored feet, whereas the feet of the cottontail are more of a grayish white. In the southern part of the state, we might encounter the marsh rabbit as well. It's not. I don't have it on this slideshow. By far the largest order of mammals, not just in Alabama, but across the world, are the rodents. The rodents are gnawing mammals. The incisors are reduced to just one on each side, both on the top and the bottom. They don't have any canines. The majority of them are small, although there are a couple of exceptions. Very diverse, as you would expect in a large group, but again, the majority of them are nocturnal, although there are a few that you're familiar with that are very diurnal, active in the daytime. We will, if we don't see the American beaver, we will certainly see their activities. I'm not going to go over that here, but of course you know that they are aquatic. They build dams, they build lodges that they live inside. One of the few animals other than man that actually alters its habitat to suit its activities. Tracks are quite distinctive. The front foot again has that sort of hand-shaped appearance. The hind foot is quite long and is webbed. Often you'll see these tracks with drag marks behind them where they have been dragging some sort of aquatic vegetation, or not aquatic vegetation, some sort of vegetation that they have cut down and are dragging into the water for their engineering activities. They also are feeding. They are bark feeders, so they strip the bark off of the plants that they cut down. Illustration of a beaver lodge, where the beavers enter by an underwater entrance, and then they take up residence inside of here. There are a variety of mice scattered around the state. I won't try to go into all of them. The most common of our field mice is the white-footed mouse, Paramiscus leucopus, 5 to 8 inches long, with a brownish body and white below. The hispid cotton rat, quite a bit larger, up to as much as 14 inches in length. The eastern wood rat, I should put a color image in here, but the eastern wood rat looks a lot like a house rat, the exotic Norway and black rats that move into houses. But you can distinguish the wood rat by the furred tail. The house rats have a naked tail, but the wood rat has hair on the tail. They will build a lodge, a small collection of twigs that they burrow up inside. These are the exotic invasive house rats, the Norway rat, the roof rat. Distinguish them by the relative length of the tail. The roof rat, or sometimes called the black rat, has a proportionately longer tail. It's usually longer than the body length, whereas in the Norway rat, the tail is about the same length as the body. Might also be troubled in houses by the house mouse, which is smaller and dusky grayish brown. We should see chipmunks, some 8 to 12 inches in length, reddish brown above, light below, with those very distinctive stripes down the back. This is a very common ground squirrel around our area, and is a very important part of forest food webs, as you see here. I hope we see fox squirrels. This is our largest tree squirrel. There are a number of different color phases, and we will almost certainly see one of them. Hopefully we see more than one. They're found statewide. It likes more open woods than the gray squirrels do. They like mature, deciduous, and pine oak woodlands, but you'll also find it at forest edges. The different color variants, you've got this sort of predominantly brownish and rust-colored common form, one that has sort of a gray body color with a black head. There's even a form that is almost skunk colored, almost solid black with a white head. We would be fortunate to see a flying squirrel, as they are almost exclusively nocturnal, but we might very well see signs of their activity. If nothing else, we'll see tree cavities that almost certainly have flying squirrels inside them. 8 to 10 inches in length, very heavily adapted for gliding. They don't truly fly, they glide. But they have this web between their legs that they spread when they glide from tree to tree. The tail is flattened to serve as sort of a rudder and help them. It gives additional gliding surface, but they can also use it to help navigate. They can glide for as much as 100 feet or more from the top of one tree down to the trunk of another. They actually are quite skilled. They can change their angle of descent. They can turn. Just before they land on the adjacent tree, they drop the tail, they lift their forequarters, and they land very lightly on all 4 feet, and then they immediately run over to the other side of the trunk, probably to avoid being followed by an owl or something. They are primarily herbivores, but they are the most carnivorous of the squirrels. They'll actually feed on nestlings of birds. They might feed on eggs, in addition to the acorns and berries and nuts that they take. They like woodpecker holes as their favored site, and they actually have been known to hot bunk, share a cavity with red-cockaded woodpeckers. While they are preyed upon by owls and a lot of other mammals, the most dangerous predator on flying squirrels are house cats. And if you have a house cat, I wouldn't be surprised if she has left you a present of the tail of a flying squirrel on your doorstep before. I know mine has. All right, I'm going to take a break here. Catch my breath.